Shri Krishna Govind Hare Murare He Nath Narayan Vasudeva. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Harahi Paramatmane Namah Pranat Kleshaya Nashaya Govindaya Namo Namah. Indeed, it's a matter of pleasure where we are talking on the significance of Srimad Bhagwat Geeta and about the 18 chapters and its meaningful context to the human society. Today it is Mokshada Ekadashi, which is known as the holy day known for the preaching of Srimad Bhagwat Geeta, originated through the Srimukh of Narayan, Lord Shri Krishna. As far as this particular important document called Srimad Bhagwat Geeta is concerned, many Western scholars or experts in the context of academic fraternity are also being benefited by this particular noble document, that is Srimad Bhagwat Geeta. And about this particular Shri Granth, the many experts have thankfully extended their views. Dr. Alvin H. Powell, Professor of Sociology, State University of New York, states, according to his words, as if truth is what works, as pious and the pragmatic insist, there must be a kind of truth in the Bhagavad Gita. As it is, since those who follows it teaching displays a joyous serenity usually missing in the bleak of strident lives of contemporary people. Therefore, Professor Alvin rightly stated that truth is that work which is actually lies the truth of Bhagavad Gita, and that is usually which is missing in the bleak of strident lives of contemporary people. So therefore, Srimad Bhagavad Gita usually tries to fulfill that truth which is absent in the people's life. And another important view on Srimad Bhagavad Gita is about Dr. Francois Senenchois, who is the Doctor of Religious Science, Institute of Political Studies, Paris. He stated that whether the reader be an adept of Indian spirituality or not, a reader of Bhagavad Gita as it will be extremely profitable, for it will allow him to understand the Gita as still today the majority of Hindus do. For many, this will be the first contact of the true India, the ancient India and the eternal India. So, according to Dr. Francois, he adopted the Bhagavad Gita in such a way where he magnificently purviewed that it is basically a first contact of the true India, ancient India and the eternal India by the name of touching the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, on his extremely profitable aspect as far as the reading of Bhagavad Gita as a Indian spirituality content, and for it will allow him to understand the Gita. So today's majority of Hindus do that. Meant for the Hindus are actually aware about that knowledge, which is actually the Indian spirituality knowledge, which tends to be read through the Bhagavad Gita, which is not being admired by the rest of the world, what Hindus do. So, in a meaningful version, all these experts had accepted the significance and importance of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and they narrated it at their own views. Now, I will try to give you a glimpse about the all 18 chapters of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. These chapters are actually being summarized as the different kind of aspect related to different kind of chapters. Basically, there are 18 chapters by which this Bhagwat Gita is being derived through, which is the originated through the Narayan Shri Krishna himself. As far as first chapter is concerned, first chapter talks about the observation, the army on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. At the opposing army and stand opposite at the battle, Arjun, the mighty warrior, sees the intimate relatives, teachers and loved ones to whom he and his mind became bewildered and gives up the determination to fight. So this chapter is Arjun Vishad Yog or Vishad Yog. The chapter's conclusion is all about. The second chapter that consists of the content of Bhagavad Gita summarized as Arjun submits to Lord Krishna about his disciple Krishna's teaching, and then further Lord Krishna explains the process of transmigration and nature of selfless service or the supreme characters of self-realized person. Chapter 3 belongs to Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is an aspect in everyone's life, and everyone must engage in some sort of activity in the material world, but action can either blind one to this world or liberate one from this world. So this is actually to the philosophy karma esa sa vimuktaye, that meant for the action which may liberate the individual. So this is related to the supreme without selfish motive, and one can liberate from the law of karma, which is not possible until one is devoted to the karma which is nishkam karma, which is followed by the karma yoga. So this chapter belongs to the karma yoga. Further, the chapter 4 is the transcendental knowledge. Transcendental knowledge is a knowledge about the spiritual journey of a soul, which is related to God and their relationship with both purifying and liberating himself meant for oneself, the individual. Those are the nar or nari. Such knowledge is the fruitful of selfless knowledge, which is devotional action of karma yoga, and Lord explained it through the remote history of Bhagwat Gita for the pursuit of mankind by describing the purpose and significance of his periodic descent of the material world. And this transcendental knowledge is all about the process by which mankind need to devote their actions, followed by karma yoga. Chapter 5 is an important chapter which states about karma yoga action in Krishna consciousness. Now Krishna consciousness is a belief by which Krishna bhavit hona is a action where outwardly performing all actions but inwardly renouncing their fruits to the wisdom of the God, and that the wise man purified by the fire transcendental knowledge attains peace detached from the entire world, and their spirit visions the bliss of God without touching to the effect of the actions. Chapter 6 talks about Dhyana Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga, there are a provision of Dhyana, and Dhyana is a mechanical meditation practice which controls our mind, senses and focuses that centers to the Paramatma. Paramatma is supreme ultimate, which is the super soul, and from that the Lord came out through. This is actually a practice of culminating the Samadhi, full consciousness to the Supreme. Chapter 7 further talks about knowledge of the Absolute. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Truth. He is one and the only one who is the Supreme Truth and who is the supreme cause of sustaining all forces in this particular mechanical world. Now, why this world is mechanical? Because everything is systematic, and this nature had created everything, and this nature had created so because of its Lord Krishna's wish. Everything, both material and spiritual, are under the content of the supervision of Lord Shri Krishna. Advanced soul surrenders into him in his devotion, and it is what the outcome of Lord Shri Krishna only. Further, the 8th chapter talks about attaining the Lord Krishna's devotion throughout one's life, especially at the time of that one can attain his supreme adore beyond the material world. As far as this material world is concerned, everyone is to attain the supreme nirvana, or to attainment of the God. Janam janam muni jatan karahi ant ram kahu avat nahi. To attainment of the God Lord Krishna, especially at the time of death, one cannot think about the ultimate, that is God, until he have attained the supreme adore beyond the material world. For that, the pursuit of engagement of oneself with the God is to be said throughout their whole life. Chapter 9 further talks about most confidential knowledge. The most confidential knowledge is a kind of privileged knowledge of Supreme God, that is God Shri Krishna, Lord Shri Krishna, who had set the supreme object of worship. The soul is eternally related to him through transcendental devotional service, that is called bhakti. भक्ति के द्वारा हम ज्ञान की प्राप्ति कर सकते हैं. The bhakti can be a source by which we can purely devote ourselves to the Lord Krishna through our spiritual reclaim. Further, chapter 10 talks about opulence and absolute. Chapter 10 gives us all wonders, phenomena showing power, beauty, grandeur, and the sublimity, either in the material world and the spirituality, are but partial manifestation of Krishna's divine energies. So, something which is in the opulence of Lord Shri Krishna in the context of absolute gives us the wisdom and freedom to avail that supreme cause, and to avail that supreme cause, we all have to support the essence of everything which lies under Shri Krishna's supremacy, worship and belonging to the actions. Chapter 11 talks about universal form. Lord Krishna grants Arjuna divine vision, and that reveals his spectacular unlimited form of cosmic universe. This world is full of the cosmic energy, and this cosmic energy is in convergent form of the divinity God Lord Krishna and his nature. God gave us birth and give the birth to the mankind, and this mankind have originated to the Godhead, and therefore it is what the universal form by the name of the cosmic formation of the energy of the universe. One can perceive from this form only by pure devotional services of eternal type. Chapter 12 talks about the devotional services, that is Bhakti Yoga. It's a pure devotional service to Lord Krishna, which is the highest and most expanded means of attaining pure Lord love for Krishna. The one which have been attained by either Yashoda or Shri Radha or Shri Sudama or someone like Arjuna. Those are fall in love with Lord Krishna, or the Ishwar Tattva by which Lord is abide to be there within their lives. It may be me and you also who can attain this kind of love, but for that we'll have to devote ourselves for the Bhakti Yoga, which is not at all an easy path until Tehi Jananhara, that meant for it is purely dependent on the God to whom they insist to provide his entire aura. Further, chapter 13 talks about nature and enjoyer of the consciousness, one who understands the difference between the body and the soul and the super soul beyond them both. The body and the soul both attains liberation from the material world. इस संसार में जो कुछ भी शाश्वत है वह आत्मा या आत्मा के ऊपर एक परमात्मा तत्व है, and that is because the nature is also being created. So the nature and the enjoyer and consciousness. Chapter 14 talks about three models of material natures. These three models are nothing but all embodied souls are under the controls of three models of qualities of material nature. Material nature that meant for godness, possession and ignorance. Lord Krishna explains what these modes are. These modes are Chapter 14 talks about these three modes of material knowledge. Chapter 14 talks about three modes of material nature. All embodied souls are under the control of three modes of qualities of material nature: goodness, passion and ignorance. Something which is there in this nature, that is because of Almighty and His wish and within the control of His own tendencies. Chapter 15 talks about the yoga of Supreme Person. The ultimate purpose of Vedic knowledge is to detach oneself from the enlightenment of material world and to understand Lord Krishna's Supreme Personality as a Godhead. Chapter 16 talks about or describes about the divinity and dominance of nature, where nature is the foremost, which creates, which recreate, which can actually distract also, and which can recreate the livelihood and create the spiritual authority, gradually attains the spiritual perfection. Chapter 7th, it talks about the divines of faith. Faith is something which creates something magical. हम माने तो पत्थर में भगवान है, और ये उसी आस्था की, उसी भक्ति की या उसी सिद्धांत की बात करता है. There are three types of faith corresponding to one and evolving from three models of material nature. Acts performed in those faith and passion of ignorance yield only impermanent, material results, etc. There is one faith to be talked about. जहाँ कृष्ण है वहाँ जगत है. कृष्णम जगत साधनम. Last but not the least, chapter 18 talks about the perfection of renunciation, that is conclusion. Krishna explained the meaning of renunciation and the effects of the modes of nature on human consciousness and activity. He explains Brahman realization, the glories of Bhagwat Geeta and the ultimate conclusion of Gita. The highest path of religion is absolute, unconditional, loving surrender unto Lord Krishna. Shri Krishna, as stated in Bhagwat Geeta, Sarvan Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraj. This is what the holy message of this particular chapter 18. Thus, chapters 18 or all sum total of all 18 chapters in this particular Shri Granth Bhagwat Geeta gives a better direction to the all mankind, and that provides the opportunity to live life better with all sort of opportunities in this realistic world. With these words, I would like to conclude my words here and would like to preach one thing. Krishna Satyam Jagat Mithya. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita signifies you or me have to surrender ourselves under the Krishna consciousness. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavad Gita is ultimately deriving all of us towards that. Namaskar. Jai Shri Krishna.